Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. So happy to be back here on a Monday afternoon. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us, whether it's Monday afternoon or evening or even Tuesday morning where you are. And I got some good news. This is very good news for us here at Catholic Answers. Trent Horn's in the studio. He's out here in California with us. We're so happy when he comes, and it's just so nice to see you, Trent. Welcome back to California.
It is nice to see you, Mr. Cy Kellett.
It's amazing to me that they let you in California, given all the negative things you've said about California.
Well, I thought California was supposed to be a very inclusive kind of state. Isn't that the whole mindset of we're very inclusive?
Not to people like you.
Right. We're tolerant of everyone except the people we consider intolerant.
Yeah. Well, we're happy you're here. We're going to do basically tips for defending the faith. You can ask for anything you like. How do we talk about this? Or I've come across this challenge and I don't know how to answer it. If you'd like a tip for defending the faith, get it from one of the best this hour. 888-318-7884. Further good news. Second hour, Dr. Ray Guarendi is going to be here, and that's always good fun. And he's also got just a great and very helpful book out about getting some calm in your life. You need some calm. Dr. Ray's got some words of advice for you, second hour. Again, 888-318-7884, 888-31 Truth. Trent, we've got you on standby along with Joe Heschmeyer for any day now. We expect a decision in the Roe v. Wade, the Dobbs thing.
Oh, yeah, we are on standby. I think everybody always waits every Monday now to say, okay, are they going to release it today? Yeah. I think they're going to push it to the very end.
Really?
And all the justices are going to get into their mystery machine van. Yeah. And as they're hopping in, they're going to throw out the verdict and then peel away. Because in the summer, when the justices aren't working, they drive around and solve mysteries together.
I see. This is the kind of incisive insight that we need from you.
This is true. I
didn't know any of this.
I've been following the court for a long time, and I noticed though most of the mysteries tend to be an aggrieved farmer wearing a monster mask.
Yeah. Named Withers.
Yes. Usually, surprisingly enough, it is Thomas who does the unmasking. He's the one
Thomas.
He's the one who says, "I knew it was you."
He's the senior justice, I think. Isn't he the senior justice? Yeah, I think he's the oldest one there. I think he's been there longer than anybody.
It would not surprise me, actually. So, we're waiting on that. It's hard for me. I'm still praying because I was very happy with the leaked draft. And
I know. How's it going to get better than that?
And so I'm praying that we at least retain that or retain its substance. So whatever happens, God is in charge. But we will still, even if Roe versus Wade is overturned, the fight for life will now occur in 50 different states.
Yeah.
And more people will be talking about abortion. And so you want to be prepared to do that, which is why I actually have a neat offer. If you are a subscriber to my podcast, The Council of Trent, if you go to TrentHornPodcast.com, anyone who is a subscriber in the month of June at TrentHornPodcast.com gets free access to my new course at the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics called Arguing About Abortion.
What a good deal.
Yeah.
What a good deal. Also, if you're a member of, now that we're doing the membership things,
right?
All of our Society 315 members, you're going to do a special talk for them on Wednesday night this week.
That's right.
Did you forget that?
No, not at all. I am super excited to give the webinar, talk to Society 315 about Roe v. Wade. I mean, this is the first apologetic issue. As an apologist, I began my work focusing on pro-life apologetics when I turned 18. I didn't get involved in Catholic apologetics until several years later, at least formally teaching others. And so this is something that's been on my heart for a long time, and I'm eager to teach others how to engage the issue.
And I get to MC that, so I'm planning on doing a really good job.
I
just want you to know that. That's my plan right now.
I expect nothing but the best from Mr. Cy Kellett.
And if you're not a member of Society 315, you can just go to casociety315.org or .com, casociety315.com. Sorry, I got that wrong. And just sign up but Wednesday night. It's part of the stuff we try to do. We try to do stuff with our Society 315 members. By the way, it's your opportunity to get tips for defending the faith this hour. 888-318-7884. 888-318-7884. Certainly, if you'd, the Catholic Church is, I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag here, a pro-life institution. And so if as part of the defending the faith, you want some tips on defending the right to life, you are welcome to call as well. 888-318-7884. Trent Horn in the building with us, which is less common these days since he moved to Texas. I have to say, here in California, I feel like the Roe v. Wade, the potential for the overturning of Roe v. Wade has actually driven politicians insane. Like you haven't been here, but the TV commercials are all about who's gonna, like have the most radical pro-abortion governing policy.
I think it's helpful to have issues that expose where people really stand.
Yeah.
That sort of removes the people who are ambiguous or try to have it both ways, because you really can't with the issue of abortion.
Yeah.
If the unborn are not human beings, abortion needs no justification to be legally permitted.
Sure.
No
that's a
more
good
than
point.
you don't need legal justification to have a cavity filled or your tonsils removed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But if the unborn are human beings, then abortion cannot be justified any more than we could justify killing a 2-year-old because we're worried about them being a victim of abuse, we're worried about them being in poverty. So I want to put people on the record. Where do you stand on that?
Well, they're going on the record
Good.
here in California. It's awful.
Then let them be consigned to, the people always try to tell us that you're on the wrong side of history. The problem is when I look back at history, Cy, every single time a group of people in power said another group of human beings were not persons, every single time the group in power was wrong. What are the odds they're right this time when it comes to abortion? I'm going to put that at 0.
I'm gonna say yeah. I think I'd go with 0 as well. I mean, I don't know how history will turn out, because the thing I worry about is being on the wrong side of Jesus.
The thing is, Jesus is the Lord of history.
There you go, Trent. See, that's why
So
you're in that seat.
if you're on
and
the
I'm
right
over here in
side,
this seat.
if you're on the side of Jesus,
Yeah.
you will inevitably be on the right side of history.
888-318-7884 is the number. We start with Beth in Kansas, listening to EWTN on channel 130, Sirius XM satellite radio. Beth, so glad to have you. Go ahead with your question for Trent.
Hi. So my question is, how do I defend the Catholic faith for my Protestant friends who do not believe the Bible is composed of 73 Bibles, which has been determined by church councils, most recently Council of Trent.
You mean 73 books in the Bible?
73 books. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, that's
So, Beth, is your question, how do I defend that the Bible is composed of 73 books instead of the 66 books of the Protestant Bible that lack the deuterocanonical books like Maccabees and Tobit? Is that the essence of your question?
Yeah, that's the essence of it. Yeah, we've even gotten into the argument that I don't even know who wrote many of the books of the Bible. Like, they were like, who do you think wrote the book of Mark? Was it Peter? Was it this young disciple named Mark? And I'm like, I'm Catholic, and I go by the sacred tradition and teachings of the Catholic Church, and I'm under the magisterium, and I believe whatever the council is good to go.
Right.
Wow.
So Beth, I think that you're on the right track here. If the people you are dialoguing with are Protestant and they affirm a 66-book canon of Scripture, I would really put the burden of proof on them. You could say, well, as a Catholic, I accept this canon of Scripture because it is the same one that was affirmed at the regional councils of Hippo and Carthage in the 4th century, and also reaffirmed at the councils of Florence and the Ecumenical Council of Trent. Speaking of which, by the way, a great tie-in here. If you go to my podcast, The Council of Trent, COUNSEL, I recently had a debate with an Anglican, Jonathan Sheffield, on the question of the Protestant canon. So I think you should really ask them, why should you believe the Bible only has 66 books? What is your criteria for determining the canon of Scripture? And for them, it's probably going to be essentially a tradition that was received. So you could say, well, what tradition should I go with? The one that dates back to the Protestant Reformation, or the one that goes back to Jesus and the apostles? So I would recommend checking out my debate with Jonathan Sheffield. That's on my podcast, The Council of Trent. It was probably like a week or two ago. Also, I would be happy to send you a book, because we got lots of neat books here. And it's a book on the Old Testament canon by my friend Gary Machuda. It's called Why Catholic Bibles Are Bigger. So if you stay on the line, I would very much enjoy sending that to you. Would that be helpful?
Oh, yeah, that'd be very helpful. Yes.
Yeah, Gary knows
Yeah.
all the ins and outs. He's very clear on in that book. So hang on, we'll send it to you, Beth. Thanks. We got to take our first break.
Okay.
We'll do that right now and be right back with more tips for defending the faith with Trent Horn. 3 lines open, 888-318-7884.
Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting support provided by Homeschool Connections. Homeschool Connections hosts the Catholic Homeschool Conference. The 2022 Catholic Homeschool Conference is June 10th through 11th, and the website is CatholicHomeschoolConference.com. That's CatholicHomeschoolConference.com.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
I don't like looking back. I prefer to look forward and keep moving forward. There's plenty to cover. I do a lot of research and try to dig out the bits and pieces of a life or of an agenda that people don't want to talk about.
The World Over with Raymond Arroyo. Thursday night, 8 Eastern on EWTN Radio and Television.
Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live. Trent Horn, our guest, your calls. Welcome. Tips for defending the faith. 888-318-7884. The weirdest thing was going on here last week. I don't even know if you know about this. There were people like auditioning on the microphones to be you in the audio version of your new book. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I think there were people who were auditioning to be the voice of doubt within my mind, not necessarily
That
to
is
be
a
me.
weird thing. But you say it like that's less weird. Like that. Wait, explain this to me. Why do we need someone to be the voice of doubt in your mind for your next book?
Oh,
Why?
because I think it would give people a giant headache if I did an audiobook involving 2 distinct characters and I voiced each character. That would,
okay, so maybe
that
you
would
need to tell
drive
me about the
people
book.
batty. Yes.
Tell me about the book, because so the book then,
Yes.
I'm assuming, has you and then another character that's your doubts.
That's right.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so the
so
book
we need
is
someone to play your doubts.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, the book is called Devil's Advocate, Confronting My Inner Anti-Catholic. It is the first book I have written to feature a picture of me on the cover.
Really?
Have you seen the cover?
No, I haven't.
It is. I didn't know how I felt about it. People seem to like it. It's a picture of me in my little, like, wearing like a suit kind of, holding a handheld mirror in front of me, like a, what's this in front of me? And in the reflection, you see a red tinted angry version of me.
Oh.
So the idea is that this book, Devil's Advocate, is a book about my particular doubts about the Catholic faith and how I overcome them and how I engage them. So you get to listen in on the conversations that how I use apologetics in my own personal life. And hopefully people will learn from that how they can apply that when they have doubts, when they have concerns. So it's a dialogue book in the tradition of Peter Kraef's books, like Yes or No, Between Heaven and Hell. But it's more personal in that regard about the particular problems that I have and how I work through the arguments. And I try to give the devil's advocate, the inner voice of doubt, a robust, he's not a straw man to knock over. He's a formidable opponent.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, our doubts are formidable.
that's right.
All
And
doubts
to
are
make
formidable,
to make the book work, I had to make the other person someone who doesn't take easy answers.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll be a really a fun and engaging way. It reminded me, and I wrote this in the introduction of the book, that it reminded me of Screw Tape Letters a little bit. And so C.S. Lewis actually said Screw Tape Letters was his least favorite book to write. And because he hated having to come up with ways for devils to come up with making evil sound good.
Yeah.
And this book was actually the least favorite of my own to write, to make my own doubts sound plausible. And then to knock them down and to dive deeply into psychology and dwell on those types of areas. But I think it'll be very helpful for people and a way to learn apologetics without just a straight problem, answer, solution, repeat back and forth.
Right.
It's more, here's an actual dialogue that I try to make it sound as real as possible. So I'm excited that we may soon release it probably in a few months we'll record it, but I would like to do an audiobook of it, and we're on our way to finding.
So you need another voice. Yeah.
Need another voice that way, because if it was just me, it would be insufferable. unless I changed up my voice.
No, because you wouldn't be able to figure out who's.
Well, unless I did. Well,
oh yeah, you could.
So devil's advocate, how do you feel today? Well, I feel just fine, Trent, but I think you are the one who should be worried. Maybe I should do 1920s Trent, huh? Are you so sure about all this Catholic stuff here?
Yeah. Hey,
the transatlantic accent.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that book. It's interesting that you have a book that you had less fun writing, even than What the Saints Never Said.
Oh, I love writing What the Saints Never Said. It was so fun.
Good for you, Matthew, in Seattle, watching us on Catholic.com. You're next. Go ahead with your question for Trent.
Hi, Trent and Sai.
Hi, Matthew.
What's up?
So, I'm a Christian and pro-life, but I'm not vegan. But it's kind of a difficulty for me. So, since humans and animals are related, and the value of animals that we eat seems kind of uncertain, I guess sometimes pro-choicers say that we say that pro-choicers are being haphazard with human life when they allow mothers to decide if their children are alive. And I know I can say that we start off agreeing that human life is of value, so we don't really need to necessarily talk about it. But besides the fact that we agree on human life, is there any way of defending against that? Like,
is it the claim that So are you saying, how do we defend against the claim that pro-lifers are inconsistent if they oppose abortion, but they do not support veganism?
Yeah, but without saying that, without skipping it over just to talk about humans.
Well, I think it's important in the dialogue to say that these are distinct moral issues, and so they're not necessarily related. That the reason that people will come to different conclusions about why it is wrong to kill human beings versus under what circumstances would it be wrong to kill animals. In fact, in most cases, veganism is rooted in the principle that it's wrong to cause unnecessary suffering to animals. I actually just had a dialogue with Alex O'Connor, who is the cosmic skeptic on YouTube. He is an atheist, a vegan. We had a debate on Pints with Aquinas a few years ago. And he and I had a dialogue we recorded. We were in the same city recently. He was visiting Houston, Texas, actually, part of the Capturing Christianity conference there that was going on. And so we talked about the ethics of killing. And Alex's view is that it's not causing the death of an animal that's the problem, it's causing the animal's suffering in like factory farming. So he doesn't believe either animals or humans, strictly speaking, have a right to life. It's about the causing of suffering. So for many vegans, they would say that they would probably be in favor of abortion because they would say most abortions do not cause an unborn child pain. Now, pro-lifers can say, you're right, causing pain has to be justified, and people might disagree about whether the pain that is inflicted in factory farming is justified based on the goods of factory farming, like feeding people, sustaining a global population, for example. But the separate issue is the wrongness of killing. What makes it wrong to kill human beings? And if the answer is it's just wrong to kill human beings because they're human, because vegans will maybe try to create a moral equivalency, and I don't think that works, because most people would agree if you were lost in the wilderness and you had your a pig with you and your 5-year-old, it would be moral to kill the pig to feed it to the 5-year-old, but not to kill the 5-year-old and feed it to the pig to save the pig. That human life has a value that animal life does not, intrinsic value and intrinsic dignity. And so if that is shared by every member of the human species, that would include unborn children as well. Animals can have value, and we ought to show kindness to them. But when you look through the different examples, it seems very clear that animals do not have the same intrinsic value human beings have. You could have a barn filled with rats, and it would not be morally wrong to fumigate the barn to get rid of the pests. If you have a barn filled with human squatters that won't leave, you get the authorities involved, you go through legal channels, but if you gassed them to get rid of them, that would be murder. because humans and rats have different value. Humans have an intrinsic value. And so while I think vegans can make a decent case that has to be reckoned with, and I promised Alex I would reckon with it soon, about whether something like factory farming, the suffering involved is justified, that has nothing to do with whether the proposition, it is always wrong to directly kill an innocent human being. If someone agrees with that, then they should be against abortion. And if they're not, I would say they're the ones who are being inconsistent. So is that a helpful start?
Yeah, can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
So I guess just for myself, though, personally,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for me to, even though I know for sure that human life matters,
Mm-hmm.
I can't say like for sure beyond a shadow of a doubt that animal life is, even though it doesn't matter as much as human life, it still could matter. Like pigs could still, for example, matter enough that we shouldn't kill them. So that's why I'm kind of wondering, like, isn't it inconsistent to say, oh, well, since I'm not sure 100%, that I can still kill them and eat them anyway, whereas if you're not sure if human life, if someone else isn't sure if human life is, matters before birth, that they still should be careful. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying, and there is an argument for the wrongness of abortion that says if we are unsure about the moral status of an unborn child, whether they're a human being or not, then we ought not kill them in the same way that we don't fire a gun into the forest if we are unsure that what we are aiming at is our hiking partner or a bear. I mean, suppose, for example, I went hiking with Mr. Cy Kellett, and we got separated.
Here we go.
And, I see a figure lumbering through the brush, breathing heavily, wheezing. And so I assume, I think Cy is in decent shape. This must be a bear, but I'm not sure. I should not fire. And then I would be relieved if it turned out that Cy is not in as good a shape as I thought. Like, oh, Cy, I thought you were a growling bear. I almost had to fire to defend myself. And, of course, that's why I would make sure that harm would not come to Mr. Cy Kellett, because we have to live, we have to survive. But for an individual, it's something that they would have to consider. And, of course, Catholicism allows an individual to be a vegan. You can be Catholic and choose to not eat animal products. That's fine. The church just does not mandate that, and it's not directly related to the pro-life position. The Catechism puts it this way in paragraph 2416. It says, "Animals are God's creatures. He surrounds them with his providential care. By their mere existence, they bless him and give him glory. Thus, men owe them kindness." So we owe animals kindness, but we can still use animals for human purposes, because the ultimate human end is to worship God, to glorify God. And God gave us animals to be stewards over, but also to serve humans in their rationally ordered ends. So I hope that was helpful.
Matthew, I'm going to just put a shameless plug in here, because we just got the head of the philosophy department at Franciscan University in Steubenville, Ohio, to talk to us about this very topic. As a matter of fact, we asked him about the whole idea of speciesism, the idea that humans have this idea that they can use animals and eat animals and all that. June 22nd is the date we have it scheduled to come out. Sometimes the schedule will change, and with a lot of Supreme Court decisions coming out this month, I can't guarantee it'll be out June 22nd, but you'll get notified if you just sign up at CatholicAnswersFocus.com for notifications. CatholicAnswersFocus.com, that's where you can get all of our Focus episodes. Trent Horn, our guest, the number 888-318-7884. If you are looking for a tip on defending the faith, you are welcome to call. We go out now all the way up to Toronto, Canada, where William is listening on the Catholic Answers app. William, your question for Trent.
Hello, Trent. Can you hear me?
Howdy.
Hi, I have a question about, in the realm of abortion.
Okay.
So I was debating someone, and I brought up the fact that God has a plan for everyone. I said in Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, what about miscarriages? How can God's plan be for my baby to just die?
Okay,
How would you respond to that?
that's a good question, and we will take a look at it when we come right back.
Got to take a quick break. Trent Horn, our guest. Next hour, Dr. Ray Guarendi, right back to answer William's question from Toronto, Canada, on God's plan for babies who are miscarried.
Have you enrolled in the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics? Let me ask you a more important question. Do you believe as a Catholic that you have an obligation to share the Catholic faith? In fact, the Church has answered this question, and the answer is that all confirmed Catholics are obliged to share the faith. It's actually in canon law. Catholic Answers is here to help you fulfill that obligation. Our School of Apologetics courses will equip you to help all the people you come in contact with understand what the Church teaches and why. A great place to start is with all the Catholics in your life. Learn the art of apologetics from the best of the best and start sharing the gospel today. Visit schoolofapologetics.com. That's schoolofapologetics.com. Here's a question. Is it really possible to be friends with someone who died 2,000 years ago? Maybe the problem is that we've grown way too comfortable with the story of Jesus. Nice man, right? Taught us to love one another, said not to judge people. We celebrate his birthday every year. It's time to put away this small, safe version of Jesus, says Cy Kellett. Nobody that bland could have transformed the world. In A Teacher of Strange Things, Cy presents Jesus Christ undiluted by sentiment, with all his radical words and deeds uncensored. Do you know someone, your son or daughter perhaps, or maybe your mom or dad, who needs the friendship of Jesus Christ? Do you? Order your copy of A Teacher of Strange Things by visiting shop.catholic.com today or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Did you know you can access Catholic Answers Live right from your phone or other mobile device? Download the Catholic Answers Live app today. The Catholic Answers Live app, available now on iOS and Android.
Tomorrow on More to Life, Unworried.
Is stress getting the best of you? Let us help you calm down and reclaim your peace.
That's tomorrow on More to Life. Now back to Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Cy Kellett, your host. Trent Horn, our guest this hour. Next hour, Dr. Ray Guarendi will be with us. And William in Toronto, just before we had to go to the break, was asking about how do you answer someone who doesn't believe that God has a plan? If babies are miscarried, that would suggest there is not a plan for people. Am I characterizing your question correctly, William?
Yes, perfectly.
All right. Trent?
Yeah, I think instead of using the phrase God has a plan for everyone, instead we should say things like God always brings good from any evil that he tolerates. Or we could say that God alone determines how much life he will give us. Because some people, when they hear plan, they immediately think, okay, well, this life has to have a certain kind of meaning or story that I associate with a plan. And since I can't see anything like that in a child who only lives for, let's say a week in his mother's womb, therefore there couldn't be such a thing. Rather, I think we should see that death was never a part of God's plan for human beings. Death is something that entered the world through our first parents' sins. And God's answer to death is not just to give us unending natural life, it is to give us life that has a natural end. We don't know how long it could be. It could be 100 years. It could be 100 days. We do not know. And God is under no obligation to give any of us a specific amount. But his plan from the curse of death upon human beings is to give us spiritual life, supernatural life, to raise us up from the dead, to have everlasting life with him. And that is something that he is capable of offering to any single human being he creates, whether it is someone who dies at the age of 100 years old or someone who dies at the age of 100 days old in the womb. God, who is omnipotent, all-knowing, and all-good, nothing can thwart him from doing that. So I feel like those who would try to cast doubt on the value of human life or on the existence of God by pointing to miscarriage, I would say that doesn't follow from that. Why would we give up belief in the one power that can redeem us from death just because we don't understand why God gives more life to some people and less life to others. Rather, we should trust in the author of life and trust in him to give us everlasting life. So that might be how I would approach the question, at least initially. Is that helpful, or would you like any follow-up on any of that?
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Perfect is a very high score. That is a very high score, Trent.
I think it's
Nice work.
technically the highest score.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it is.
I think you're exactly right. Or perfect plus might be the highest score. Andy in St. Paul, Minnesota, watching on YouTube. You are up next. Go ahead, Andy, with your question for Trent.
Hey, Trent. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
I had a question about basically how Catholics rationalize the existence of Adam and Eve to go all the way to the back of, original sin, and the entire point of us inheriting original sin when we, I guess, aren't when we didn't really do anything to begin with, kind of like a guilty of association thing.
Uh-huh.
So it was kind of a combination of that, and also how with evolution, how do we believe in Adam and Eve?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did God just kind of plant a soul kind of arbitrarily in a certain point of the development of species?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not really sure how Catholics view that, and how someone who does believe in evolution can rationalize original sin and Adam and Eve and things like that.
Sure. So it sounds like there are two objections to the doctrine that human beings descended from an initial pair, Adam and Eve. One would be an ethical objection dealing with original sin. Why is it fair for God to punish us for somehow being involved with a sin that took place thousands of years before we were ever born? And the other is not an ethical objection, it's more of a scientific objection. How could it be the case that all human beings descended from a single pair, given fossil evidence and genetic evidence showing human evolution over time? So are those essentially the two objections that you're wondering about?
Basically, yeah, and it's also like why God would sort of just decide to put a soul into, a pair like that, at that point in history, and why not say when, it was a different form of species.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Well, I'll take the ethical objection first. Original sin is not a sin of action. So we are not punished for original sin does not mean that we are punished for doing something. We were not involved in Adam and Eve's sin against God. Instead, original sin is a deprivation. It is a deprivation of the holiness and grace that we need in order to have friendship with God. So Adam and Eve had these preternatural gifts, this gift of friendship with God, that also protected them from things like death. And so this was given to them, and they could have passed these spiritual gifts along to their children. But because they disobeyed God, those gifts were revoked and lost, and so they could not pass them on to their children. So their children suffer, but they are not punished. In the same way that somebody who wins a lottery might be rich, and suppose they try to cheat and win more money from the lottery. If they are caught, they might have to forfeit all of the money back. And so their descendants will be poor now. The descendants are punished indirectly. They're not punished legally, but they suffer as a consequence of what their ancestors have done. And that's similar with human beings when it comes to original sin. So that would be the answer to the ethical objection. The other is a genetic question. How could it be, coming from human beings? Your specific question seemed to be, why would God choose to give, because some people will answer the question by denying the traditional account of human evolution. That would be one way to go about responding to the objection and just say, no, all humans came from Adam and Eve who were created from the dust of the earth. If you do believe in human evolution, though, that there were hominids, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, why would God pick one point and he would give, let's say he picked two individuals and gave them immortal souls so that their offspring would continue to have an immortal soul given to them? Why would he pick it at one time versus another? Well, God might not have a specific reason, except that at that point in human evolution, the human body had a large enough brain and sophisticated enough brain to engage in rational thought, to come to a knowledge of God, to have things like language, religious expression. And so humans now had the ability to relate with God that, a jellyfish could not. They have these rational abilities now that were raised to supernatural life with these preternatural gifts that God gave, but were then subsequently lost. So I threw a lot out at you there, but is that helpful, at least on those two issues?
Yeah, definitely. I think the only sort of thing I was thinking about also with kind of the genetic objections, like you're saying, was so basically, if evolution, is a continuous process, and we could probably become way more rational since the time of Adam and Eve.
Right.
I guess like would Adam and Eve be less culpable for their sin if they were like significantly less rational than, say, people of today's point in evolution would be? Or I guess would that matter?
I think they would be culpable enough for the punishment that they were given. For example, my 7-year-old has reached the age of reason, so he would be less culpable for offenses that he commits, but he would still be culpable. And in fact, some offenses, whether it was he or somebody else doing it, like saying something very rude, both might receive a similar rebuke, even though he's less rational. He's rational enough to know he has done something wrong. So even if it is the case human beings, our cognitive faculties have improved over time, although, frankly, I think in some circumstances they have declined. If you look at random interviews that are done of at least Americans on the street, asking them basic questions, I sometimes think that Adam and Eve might have been more culpable, and we've cognitively declined since then. But I think that they could still be held responsible, that they at least hit a minimal level of rationality that's necessary for relating to God, for understanding the moral law, and for other things like that. So I hope that was very helpful for you. I'd recommend as a blog post, if you want to dive deeper in the subject for you or anyone else who's listening, Ed Feser, who is a Catholic professor of philosophy at Pasadena City College, has a wonderful 2-part blog series at his blog, edwardfeser.blogspot, called Modern Biology and Original Sin. Search Modern Biology and Original Sin, and he does a great write-up on this question.
Thanks, Andy. Got to take another break. We'll be right back with more tips for defending the faith with Trent Horn right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Let us help you with your question today on Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Underwriting by Great Catholic Music.
Great Catholic Music, your one-of-a-kind streaming platform for traditional Catholic hymns and contemporary favorites 24 hours a day. Music that soothes the soul, that's safe for the whole family to listen to. What a relief. Great Catholic Music. Download the free mobile app or listen on any Alexa-enabled device or write from your PC or tablet at greatcatholicmusic.com. Great Catholic Music. Melodies for the soul.
He was a scholar, a preacher, a Capuchin Franciscan, and a defender of Christendom.
Matthew Bunsen and the Doctors of the Church.
St. Lawrence of Brindisi was one of the most respected preachers in the 17th century, but he also helped raise an army against the Ottoman Turks when they invaded Hungary in 1601. He led the troops to victory against the Turks, carrying only a crucifix. He was declared a Doctor of the Church in 1959.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
We have a big problem. Our culture is dying, and souls are in danger of being lost. The answer is conversion to Jesus Christ in His church. St. Paul Street Evangelization is a Catholic organization, and we have hundreds of teams spreading the good news throughout the country. But we need your help. The harvest is great, but the laborers are few. Find out more and get involved today at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
Welcome back, Catholic Answers Live. Trent Horn here with us this hour, and we're doing tips for defending your faith. So if you have some aspect of the faith you would like a tip for defending, you're welcome to call 888-318-7884. Going all the way down to Australia now. Dennis in Australia, listening on the Catholic Answers app. Dennis, good morning. Go ahead with your question for Trent.
Just want to make sure I got off speakerphone. Can you hear me clearly?
Kind of clearly. Just stay right in the phone.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Yeah. This is great.
Dennis, we got some kind of problem. I hate to do this to you.
Yeah,
I know you're calling from Australia, but I'm going to have Thomas check to see what we can do.
Yeah, have him check the connection, see if we can bring him back.
And so I'll come right back to you, Dennis. We'll do another call. You'll be next in line.
It's possible a koala might have been chewing on the phone line.
Oh, it's the wallabies that do that. Koalas, no.
Oh.
The wallabies are the real problem.
Well, I would imagine the koalas are the ones who can climb up there to do it, but...
I don't actually... This is a horror.
Do you think the koalas are smart enough that they've pinned the blame on the wallabies?
I do, actually.
They're crafty little guys.
I think koalas might be very intelligent aliens.
I think they're pretending to be asleep.
Like when the Navy finally figures out what all these UFOs are and they crack one open, full of koalas.
I bet.
Kat in Colorado, watching on YouTube. You are next, Kat. Please go ahead with your question for Trent.
Hi, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Kat.
I had just a quick question. I was wondering what female apologists do you recommend, or any female in just higher academic fields that are currently doing any research?
Oh man, Kat, you put us in a bad position because I know we're going to leave somebody out. But let's give it a try.
If I do omit anyone from what I reference here, it is completely unintentional. So I am just going off the top of my head. I will say it is more common to come across faithful Catholic women who are in the academy, who might be doing, they're professors and they're doing research. Sometimes side people will ask me, why aren't there more female apologists? And my question is, I do wonder, why aren't there more female apologists? I would love to see more people in general doing apologetics, but especially women, because they can offer a unique perspective that men might not always be able to offer. So I'm always in favor of encouraging women. I've actually sponsored women to have free access to our School of Apologetics at schoolofapologetics.com to grow in basic understanding of apologetics before they apply it to their own research. But for example, professors, people that I enjoy in academia, women would include... there are philosophers, Bible scholars. A few in the academy off the top of my head would be professors like Mary Healy, who has written a great commentary on Mark, and she also has a pamphlet published with us that rebuts arguments from those who try to say the Bible does not condemn homosexual behavior as sinful. So she has a great apologetic on that. Janet Smith has great moral theology, and of course she's known for her work, Contraception, Why Not? When I look at other philosophers, Liz Jackson is someone I've had on my show before. She does great stuff on Pascal's Wager. Eleanor Stump is a wonderful philosopher who defends the writings of St. Thomas Aquinas, things on the existence of God. The late Elizabeth Anscombe, one of the greatest Catholic philosophers of the 20th century, was a woman, Elizabeth Anscombe. Her work is quite tremendous. Then, of course, there's my co-author, Catherine Pakalik, who is a professor of economics. And so she has great work on socialism, on family structure. So those are a few people I'd recommend in the academy. When it comes to more apologists, like popular level, I would like to see more women involved. Names that come to the top of my head are Layla Miller, my co-author for Made This Way. Another would be, let's see. Stephanie Gray Connors is, I think, not just one of the best female apologists. She is one of the best apologists in general when it comes to bioethics issues. So
she's just freakishly smart.
Oh, yeah. Well, Stephanie is one of the few people, really the only person, one of the few people out there who I am comfortable, if I could not do a debate on abortion and had to cancel, to ask her to fill in for me.
Yeah, she's never seems nonplussed, ever.
Unfazed, and she has good books out now on assisted suicide, on IVF. So Stephanie Gray Connors is, I think, probably is one of the best pro-life apologists out there. Not just female apologists, but pro-life apologists. Finally, there is an up-and-coming YouTube channel from the younger generation, the younger set. You could check it out. It's That One Catholic Girl. So her real name is Vanessa, but her channel is called That One Catholic Girl. So you just remember, she's That One Catholic Girl. And so you can check her out on YouTube and others. And she does a lot of great popular level apologetics. And I'd love to see more women just going out and starting YouTube channels and blogs and interacting with others. We don't need to have a bunch of guys around all the time. I'd like to see everyone, and also people from underrepresented communities, people of color. I want more apologists. It's like Jesus said, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. So those are some to, and I didn't mean to word vomit all these great people out there.
I got
but yeah, Sai's probably got a few good.
I want to mention our friend Dr. Stacy Trasankos,
of course,
and Dr. Karen Oberg at Harvard, both scientists who have taken up the role of Catholic apologists. Maybe one of the best theologians in the world right now is Dr. Angela Franks, and the reason we don't have her on that much, she's so busy you can't get her.
Yeah,
I wish that people would check out the theologyofhome.com. Dr. Carrie Gress is
she's wonderful
with Noel Mehring. That's not really doing apologetics, but she is a great apologist. Dr. Holly Ordway.
Dr. Ordway has a wonderful book on imaginative apologetics. She has a book
about
Not
God's Type too.
Yeah, that was her conversion story from an atheistic English professor to a Christian.
Yeah, and also our good friend Monica Dumit, who, if we could hire her out of Australia, we'd hire her. But I feel so much pressure when you say names, because there's just so many great women doing this kind of work, but not always officially under the title of an apologist.
Yeah, it's hard to think of someone who just does.
Holly Ordway would say she's an apologist, I think.
Yes, but I think someone who might handle the breadth of objections like I or Jimmy might engage or do debates or public dialogues.
Yeah.
I would love to see more women who would engage that breadth of kind of apologetic.
Yeah.
So, but otherwise, I would highly recommend the Cat, go back and just listen through this clip and you can write them all down. But those are a lot of examples that we would recommend.
I felt like so much pressure there, Kat. How'd we do?
No, great. I got a ton of people that I can look into. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you very, very, very much. I'm going to try to get back to Dennis in Australia because we cut him short, and I think we have a connection with him now. Dennis in Australia, there with us? Oh, you guys punking me? Dennis? Oh, there he is. Dennis, go ahead with your question. Am I supposed to be on line 6 for Dennis, or what line am I supposed to go to? Oh, okay. All right. Dennis in Australia, you there with us? No, hold on. Dennis, this is horrible. Okay. I promise.
What?
I know he's coming now. Dennis in Australia, are you there?
Can you hear me? Oh, hello.
Yeah, we got you. You sound so clear now. Sorry, Dennis, that was like torture. Oh, that was humiliating. Go ahead with your question for Trent.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thanks, Trent. This question has been really bugging me for the last week.
Okay.
I've been debating on YouTube with anti-Catholics regarding St. Paul's first letter to Timothy, chapter 2, verse 14. He says a woman ought not to speak because Adam was formed first and Eve afterwards, and it was not Adam who was led astray, but the woman who was led astray and fell into sin. And so these anti-Catholics are telling me that Adam was not deceived, Adam did not sin. And I'm saying, hang on a sec. Didn't Jesus come to earth and become a man to die for the sin of Adam? And
right, Dennis. These anti-Catholics, are they Protestant or non-Christian?
They could be Jehovah's Witnesses for all I know. I don't know.
Interesting.
But they're Bible believing Christians, and so they take everything literally from the Bible.
Yeah, well, the problem is, they take everything literally. First, anyone who says they take the Bible literally so they're not Catholic, I ask them to read John chapter 6, verses 53 through 57.
Exactly.
So that's always my fun little experiment there. Here, I would say that what Paul is saying in 1 Timothy, this is not saying that Adam was blameless and Eve was blameworthy. If anything, it can be read as something that's the opposite, in saying that Eve was deceived and she fell into error. But Adam knew what he was doing and he stood by and did nothing. And so he did know better, and so he could even have a harsher condemnation. And so Paul is tying this in here with female conduct that is unbecoming, to allow with Eve, it would be to carelessly allow oneself to fall into error. And so he ties that in with women maybe carelessly dressing or acting in the liturgy. And then with Adam, he ties that in that Adam failed in his virtuous duty to protect Eve from the serpent that was there. He knew the right thing to do, and he failed to act. And that is the condemnation that would apply then to men often. But what I would do here is I would apply to say, no, clearly in 1 Timothy 2, Paul never says that Adam did not sin. He doesn't say it. He talks about deception. But a person could sin even if they're not deceived. Maybe they acted out of cowardice, for example. Rather, you should point them to Romans chapter 5, where Paul is very clear that Adam sinned. In Romans 5:14, it says, "Yet death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over those whose sins were not like the transgression of Adam, who was a type of the one who was to come." So here it is. It's very clear that he says that Adam committed a transgression. He doesn't even say Eve committed a transgression.
No.
He says that Adam did. So you can just tell them that they are not even reading the Bible literally. They're just reading their own interpretation into the text. So
by one man, sin entered into the world.
Right.
That's just 2 verses earlier.
Now it would still right.
That's not. I don't think Eve was the man.
Right. Now that doesn't mean, of course, it was solely on Adam either. You could read it incorrectly in that way. This was a sin, as the Catechism says, committed by our first parents that separated them from God and resulted in the curse of sin being placed upon mankind.
Oh, Dennis, I'm so glad we got to talk with you. Sorry that was an ordeal.
No, I appreciate it. I'm glad I was able to get back to you.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. I'm going to try to get one more at least in before we have to go. So let me go back to the phones and see who we've got. I think we can go to Lewis in Phoenix watching on YouTube. I think I have the right one. Lewis, is this you, Lewis?
Hi there.
Hi, Lewis. Go ahead with your question.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Hi there. Yeah, so my question is regarding the understanding of saints. I understand growing up as...
Oh, I messed up. Okay, so you want to know
the term saint is used in the Bible versus how we use it now. Yes. Hagios just means the holy ones, those who are set apart. In the Bible, it's used to describe God's people. And it can still be used in that way today. We talk about the saints among us. But when we use saint now, it's referring to a canonized saint, one who the church has officially declared to be in heaven and so is capable of interceding for us.
Lewis, I'm glad we were able to get the answer in.
And if you search Tim Staples' meaning of saint at Catholic.com, I know Tim wrote an article about this.
Thanks, Lewis. Trent, wonderful to have you here. You going to be here with us for a few days?
I will.
All right. I'll talk to you tomorrow again then.
Sounds good.
Coming up, Dr. Ray Guarendi as we continue Catholic Answers Live. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. We try not to have too much fun around here. We usually try to save up the fun and just have the fun on Fridays, but it's awful hard for me anyways to not have fun when Dr. Ray Guarendi's around, and we're very happy to welcome Dr. Ray Guarendi, who you hear each day, very likely on the radio station you're listening to now, all across the EWTN radio network. And he's got a new book out called Living Calm, Mastering Anger and Frustration. Dr. Ray Guarendi, thank you for being with us.
Cy, I'm getting a little tired.
I know what you're tired
of having to write new books just to get to be on your show.
Do you know
it's getting old.
We actually discussed this here today, and I said to Darren, did he have to write another book to get in on this show? And Darren said he was thinking, I got to schedule Dr. Ray. He went to schedule you, and there was a new book out. So I think that the cause and the effect are reversed here. I think that, or the chicken and the egg are reversed. I don't know exactly what's reversed. So I think we were coming looking for you, and then found out that there was a new book out this time.
I'm a little tired of having to grovel.
That's not what is happening here. By the way, congratulations on the new book, Living Calm, Mastering
Thank
Anger
you.
and Frustration.
You are. Did you see the cover? You're the spiritual before picture. Did you see that? On the book.
That's not true. That is not true. Yeah, I don't know. I hope I'm the before picture. I want to be the after picture. What am I saying? Yeah, I want to be the guy who is living calm.
Are you?
Yeah, I think I am. I think I'm getting there. I think, it's a lot of...
Well, you're old enough.
I know, but a lot of people in your profession have made a lot of money getting me here. But I do feel like I am not... at the beginning of the book, you use all these terms that the psychologists I'm having anger management problems or something. And I'm not having that at the moment. No.
You notice the language, how it evolves.
Yeah,
it's like a chameleon. It's like a chameleon. It changes colors. We don't have a temper anymore. We have anger management issues.
Right.
We have emotional dysregulation. It all sounds so psychological, doesn't it? And it makes it sound like I'm afflicted with some kind of thing that takes over my body, mind, and soul, and I have to act that way.
Right. I was very struck by that at the beginning, that there's this, and it's not like you're just arguing, well, just use your common sense, but there is a way in which the language, when it evolves, it gets less clear, not more clear.
And it also takes away personal responsibility.
Okay.
That's what it does. If I got something interiorly wrong with me, rather than I can exert a great degree of self-control, then I'm not as responsible. I mean, I got this bit of this temper affliction here.
By the way, the number is 888-318-7884. We love your calls here, and if you have a question for Dr. Ray Guarendi, you are very welcome here. 888-318-7884. Maybe this is something that you face yourself, dealing with anger and frustration issues. Maybe it's someone in your life you'd like to talk about. Maybe you just like Dr. Ray Guarendi and you want to call and talk to him. 888-318-7884. The book is just out. It's called Living Calm, Mastering Anger and Frustration. So how do we do it? How do we master anger and frustration?
Well, first of all, Cy, I wish you wouldn't have said it that way. You said, if you like Ray Guarendi. Now, if we get no calls, what's that going to say? You had to enter the personal element, didn't
Sorry about that. I apologize. That's right. Okay, it's a very small group, but there might be people in the I like Ray Guarendi group.
If you want to talk to Cy Kellett, call in.
Yeah.
Part of the problem here is that we view anger as an emotion. You ask most people, they're going to tell you, yeah, it's kind of something that takes over, it flares you up. But anger is as much a thought as it is emotion. When you get angry, when you get frustrated, you really have to ask yourself, what am I thinking? How am I interpreting this? What am I saying? Okay, let's say, Cy, that you say to Darren and Chris, some of the folks there at Catholic Answers, that's the last time we're getting Guarendi on. Guarendi's a jerk, he's not very good, and I'm going to call EWTN and see what I can do to get him off the air. Now, I have to interpret that. I can't automatically say, Sai's a jerk. Mm-hmm. I have to say, okay, what's going on here? How am I going to interpret this? Am I going to interpret this as that Sai's opinion? Am I going to interpret this as, if EWTN says to me, get off the air, is it the end of the world? I have to analyze in my head the cause of my frustration, the cause of my anger. And if I don't do that, then I'm just a victim. No matter what happens to me, if good things happen, I act happy. If bad things happen, I act mad. And that's the way I live my life.
That is very powerful, I think, if you're willing to accept it. Like that I'm not just having an emotion, I'm having a thought that's bringing this emotion. That I have to say, most of my life, I was mad at other drivers on the road because I knew their motives. That guy's doing that because he's you know what I'm saying? And when I realized I don't actually know their motives, then I felt like a lot less angry with them. I don't know why they're driving like that.
And if you want to add more to it, you could say, who am I to expect them to drive exactly as I think they should drive?
Yeah, right.
Who am I to say that if they don't do it, they're idiots? Who am I to say I don't do that? You see, what happens is all those thoughts can dampen your emotion, can make you lean on the horn for 4 seconds less and to keep your fingers inside the car.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't using all of them. I was just...
Yes, exactly.
By the way, again, the number is 888-318-7884. Just 2 lines open. So we're going to go to the phone lines in a minute. All right, so why this, though? You do have this broad experience from your radio and television and your own practice as a therapist. Why are you writing about anger and frustration now? What's brought that on?
If I am sad, Sai,
yeah,
I'm not about to insult you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not about to mistreat you. If I'm feeling anxious, I'm not going to call you a name. The stuff that I most do that is unchristian is when I'm angry. It's when I'm frustrated. That is likely to provoke in me my worst behavior. So anger and frustration really is the emotion that makes us act most unchristian-like. I would have to say that 90% of the awful things that I have said, the frustrating things that I have said, have been said during a moment of emotion. They have.
Right.
If I could get past that 30-second surge of emotion, I'd say about half of what I shouldn't say.
Right.
So it is the upset. It's the frustration that breeds the conduct, and it is the conduct that our Lord says, "Don't act like that. Why are you acting like that?"
Yes, isn't that something? It's fascinating because I hate to say this about us Catholics, but I think often we have this internal thing that says if I could get my maybe it's just men. I don't know if women have this, but the thing that's keeping me from being the Christian that Christ wants me to be is getting the sexual stuff in order, lusting or this. But the fact is that generally speaking, the times when I'm just nasty in a way that Jesus would not want me to be at all, it's because I'm mad at somebody. It's because I've got the energy of anger behind it.
Most of your relationships, especially the close ones, spouse, parent, sibling, adult child, those relationships have the most opportunity for friction.
Yeah.
They do. You know, the mail carrier, I go down to the mailbox, I say, "Hey, how was your day today?" She says, "Fine." I say, "Well, that's good." She says, "Hey, have a nice day." "Okay." And it was such a pleasant interaction. And she says, "Ray Guarendi is such a nice guy. Yeah. He's so pleasant." And my wife is standing back there going, "You don't live with him. You do not live with him."
Yes.
So
right.
most, I would say that about 90% of our mistreatment of another person is to someone we are supposed to love the most.
Dr. Ray Guarendi is our guest. There are tons of folks on the line ready to ask questions, so let's take this opportunity to take our first break, and we'll come back and get right to the phones. Your questions for Dr. Ray Guarendi on his brand new book, Living Calm.
There's only one Catholic Answers Live. Are you a coffee drinker? If so, you can now enjoy a coffee roasted to perfection by the Carmelite monks of Wyoming. Delicious Mystic Monk coffee is roasted and prepared by monks in a hidden cloistered monastery and is available in over 25 varieties. All Mystic Monk coffees are works of perfection and labors of love. For more information on how to purchase Mystic Monk coffee, visit mysticmonkcoffee.com. That's mysticmonkcoffee.com.
This is Steve Liegers, president of Tri-State Catholic Radio, and I am a sinner. A sinner who needs God's grace and mercy, especially when I'm weak or disappointed in myself or have hurt others. Catholic Radio and its wonderful variety of programming reminds me that God loves me and uses radio as a medium to broadcast His love and encouragement into our world. Find a Catholic station in your area and tune in.
The world needs EWTN Catholic Radio, now more than ever.
Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live. Dr. Ray Guarendi has a brand new book out, Living Calm, Mastering Anger and Frustration. It's available right now wherever you get your books. You can get this one. And it's about helping us to overcome that state that makes us most likely to be unchristian to other people. And I do want to go to the calls, Dr. Ray, but you were talking before about how it's our perception of the situation is often the problem. Will you give me just a little, if you can give me some insight, some example of the power of perception in all of this?
People routinely believe that if an incident happens, if someone acts a certain way or says something toward me, I automatically react. And I reacted because of what they did. It was A, their conduct, equals C, my action. Picture yourself, Cy, at a three-sided bus stop. It is cold. Now, I know it never gets cold where you live, but where I live in the Midwest, it can get to be 40 degrees in July. So, it is cold, and there is sleeting rain coming into this bus stop shelter. We're all crowded together, the bodies are crunched. I feel a jabbing in my heel. There's something poking my heel, and it won't stop, and it hurts, and it feels like the point of an umbrella. Now, if you were to ask me at that moment, Ray, why are you getting angry? I would say, because someone is poking me in the heel with an umbrella, and I don't know what kind of thoughtless individual that is, but we're stuck here in this crowded bus stop, and you'd think they have a little more sense than that. Okay, I can't take it anymore. I turn around to give them what for, and it is an elderly blind woman with a cane trying to keep her balance in the crush of bodies. What happened to my anger, Cy?
Gone.
Instant.
Yeah.
I didn't have to say, you know, lady, you're lucky you can't see. You're lucky I'm a nice guy. No, it was immediately gone.
Right.
Now, wait a minute. 1 minute before, you said to me, Ray, why are you so upset? And I say, because somebody's poking me. Well, no, the lady was still poking me. My perception of the situation changed. The anger changed immediately. And that's how powerful perceptions are.
What? Yes. So, but can I change my perceptions, though? Is that what you're saying, that I can change my perceptions?
You have to make them square with reality.
Oh,
For example, my mother-in-law, let's say that she is snarky, snooty, snotty, snippy. You ever notice how God used SN words to describe snottiness? So she's been this way ever since I've known her. All right, now this is not my real mother-in-law, by the way. How long have I known her? 34 years. Has she always been this way? Yes. She gonna change? Probably not. So why are you still getting yourself upset? Because she shouldn't talk that way. But she does talk that way. I know, but she shouldn't. She doesn't have a right to talk that way. I'm a nice person. She shouldn't treat me like that. Ray, it's been 34 years. When are you going to change your perception and say that's who she is? Don't be surprised.
Right. Gotcha. All right. There's so many people on the phone. I want to go to the phones for you. All right. Take some calls.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to Rachel in Ohio. where it's cold in them bus stops.
Yes, it is.
St. Gabriel Catholic Radio. Glad to have you, Rachel. Go ahead with your question for Dr. Ray Guarendi.
Hi. So I have a friend who I would like to unfriend due to various circumstances surrounding his spiraling addictions, which he keeps going in and out of. And it's beginning to negatively impact my life, such as has stolen some of my medications and my family's medications, and is lashing out at me and his family, and seems to be, struggling with that. And I'm wondering if it's unchristian of me to not want to be his friend and help him anymore. And also, if it's not, how should I go about that process of unfriending him?
Rachel, you have no moral obligation to stay friends with someone who is dangerous, who is very relentlessly hurtful and unrepentant. You're allowed to pick your friends. It doesn't mean you hate the guy. It doesn't mean you wish he'd roast in hell. It just simply means this relationship is not a good one. He's not your dad, so you don't have to work harder at it. He's not your brother. He's not your child. So therefore, he's someone that's in your life that you've decided, this is really a bad contact here. You have no Christian obligation to say, well, I've got to accept and connect with every single person who wants to connect with me, no matter how much they are devastating to my well-being. Now, how do you tell him? Well, the easiest way is passive. You just let the relationship fade away. You don't contact him. When he contacts you, you take a longer time to respond. Or if you want to be active about it, and you will not be understood, by the way, you just tell him, you know what, I think this friendship isn't going anywhere. It's not good for either one of us. I wish you the very best in your life. God be with you. At that point, Rachel, he's not about to say, oh, Rachel, thank you for pointing that out to me. I really need to take a good, soft look at myself. That's why I consider you such a good friend. Will you help me be a better person, Rachel? He's not going to say that. He's going to get mad. He's going to act like, who do you think you are, Miss High and Holy? That's what's going to happen. So you might want to just let it fade away as best you can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks very much. Again, Dr. Ray Guarendi is our guest. You're welcome to call 888-318-7884. You had some concern, Dr. Guarendi, that no calls would come because I said if you like Dr. Ray, you can call, but all the lines are full. So apparently you are
These are just a bunch of angry, frustrated people.
Well, that's good. Then you're just the right guy to talk with. Let's go to Caleb in Illinois, listening on 92.5 FM. Caleb, welcome. Go ahead with your question for Dr. Ray.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Hi, Caleb.
My question is, as Christians, is there a time and a place for us to experience righteous anger? And if so, how do we go about discerning how to do that well? Because it seems to me as if anger is something that can lead extraordinarily easy to a whole rash of sins.
Anger can be good. There's a chapter in the book called Righteous versus Right-Filled Anger. To put the definition simply, righteous anger is anger at someone else being mistreated, hurt, or dealt with unjustly. Right-filled anger is anger because you're not treating me the way I want to be treated. You're not giving me my due. You're not respecting me. You're not giving me the accolades, the applause that I want. That's right-filled anger. So righteous anger is protection of another. Now, you don't want to go overboard. In protecting another, you don't want to punch the person in the head that's doing it unless you have to. But short of that, you can act assertively, bravely, strongly, without getting carried away. Now, with us guys, that ain't easy to do. And you may find yourself a week later going, bless me, Father. Let me tell you what I did.
Okay, Caleb?
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Caleb.
Let's go to Belissa in Texas, listening to EWTN on Channel 130, Sirius XM satellite radio. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Is that right, Belissa?
Yes.
Okay, Belissa, go ahead with your question for Dr. Ray.
My question is, how can we? My father is 73 years old. He's a stubborn old man. He says things he shouldn't be saying, and he takes it overboard. And we don't know what to do, but we can't put him in a nursing home because it's not something that we want to do. But him being stubborn and just talking nonsense is sometimes we talk back to him and it's hard, and it's just not me, it's my other siblings too. He's a hard man to talk to. He wakes up angry out of no reason, and it's overwhelming at times.
Belissa, is your father on the front end of dementia?
Diagnostically, no. They haven't said anything.
So he's functioning fairly clearly. He's just an irritable guy.
Yeah.
Why, after all these years, do you still get upset over the things he says?
Well, he's never really been like that. I guess
if there's a dramatic, if there's a dramatic personality change here, and I can't make a diagnosis from this distance, but sometimes when there are early personality changes that are unlike the way the person has been all their lives, and they're elderly, it can be the beginning of an organic process. Now, you don't know that. So I would say proceed as if, for whatever the reason, your dad is not quite your old dad. And therefore, rather than trying to change the way he is, because you said about 7 times he's stubborn, which means he's not going to listen. So the only thing left to you is to not get upset at the way he says things, the way he acts, the way he accuses you. You can't get upset about it because you know it's coming. Otherwise, what will happen, and you alluded to this, you'll get frustrated with him and you'll say nasty things back, and then you'll feel terrible because you did that. And if 3 years from now it becomes clear that there was an organic process going on, you're going to feel even more guilty. Some things to keep in mind. Thanks, Belissa.
Belissa, thank you very much. The number is 888-318-7884, and a few lines have opened up. Dr. Ray Guarendi is our guest. Dr. Ray has a brand new book out about this very topic, about anger. And if you have that issue in your family, maybe it's something you deal with yourself, maybe you'd like help dealing with someone else, you're very welcome to call. We're going to go to Pennsylvania now. Patricia in Pennsylvania, watching on YouTube. You're next up. Patricia, go ahead with your question for Dr. Ray.
Okay.
Hi, Patricia. I hear you and I see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm trying to identify the cause of so much strife and division within families. And I'm studying the Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz. Thank you very much. And we just came across Jesus being angry when he was being asked by the Pharisees about curing on the Sabbath, at any rate. So I know anger's okay and justified. I don't feel anger towards my family. I feel anger towards a force. That's the way I would describe it. I want to identify the force, and if the Lord wants, me to go forward with continuing to reach out. I said to my son-in-law, who's visited me a few times now, we've been estranged, the little family, my daughter, her 2 kids, and my son-in-law, for a year now, and the Lord has worked wonderful things in me to understand that he comes first, the Lord does, and and not my kids. So I reached out and I asked, could we go possibly for counseling with my pastor? And the answer was no from my son-in-law, and he suggested that maybe I get some therapy. Well, he doesn't know I've been in therapy.
Patricia, I'm going to interrupt you here. Patricia, I'm going to interrupt you because we got a lot of details here.
You're both going to get interrupted.
Hear the music, that means we got to go.
Yeah. So can you hang on a minute, Patricia, and then we'll get. It really will be just about a minute, and then we'll get Dr. Ray's answer for you.
Sure, bye.
Okay, yep. Sorry to you both, but we got to do this break because there's no choice on this one. We'll take this quick break, be right back with more Dr. Ray Guarendi on Catholic Answers Live.
This is Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone of San Francisco. Thank you for listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Did you know you can access Catholic Answers Live right from your phone or other mobile device? Download the Catholic Answers Live app today. The Catholic Answers Live app, available now on iOS and Android.
Have you enrolled in the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics? Let me ask you a more important question. Do you believe as a Catholic that you have an obligation to share the Catholic faith? In fact, the Church has answered this question, and the answer is that all confirmed Catholics are obliged to share the faith. It's actually in canon law. Catholic Answers is here to help you fulfill that obligation. Our School of Apologetics courses will equip you to help all the people you come in contact with understand what the Church teaches and why. A great place to start is with all the Catholics in your life. Learn the art of apologetics from the best of the best and start sharing the gospel today. Visit schoolofapologetics.com. That's schoolofapologetics.com.
Most of us Catholic parents agree our number one goal in life is to pass on the faith to our children. But here's the bad news. Today's world has a million ways to steal your kid's soul. Don't be afraid, says Father Sebastian Walsh. God loves your children even more than you do, and He desires their salvation more than anything. In his groundbreaking new book, Always a Catholic, Father Walsh shows you how to cooperate with God to bring about the fulfillment of His will for your kids. Always a Catholic reminds us that keeping our kids in the faith is about the way we live our Catholicism in our own lives and as a family from day to day. Order your copy of Always a Catholic by visiting shop.catholic.com today or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Tomorrow on More to Life, Unworried.
Is stress getting the best of you? Let us help you calm down and reclaim your peace.
That's tomorrow on More to Life. Now back to Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Contractually, we have to have Dr. Ray on every time he has a book out. So I know that that's frustrating to a lot of listeners. But I'm sorry, Dr. Ray.
Sorry. Hey, I'm getting so big, my people got people.
Yeah, that is actually not true. But we are delighted that he has a new a book out. And you're welcome to call if you have questions. The book is called Living Calm, Mastering Anger and Frustration. I am very attracted to the idea of living calm. I think many people think, no, that's not actually possible. But Dr. Ray begs to differ. You can live calm and you can master anger and frustration. On the line right now, we have Patricia in Pennsylvania, who's angry that there's so much difficulty in the family relationships. Dr. Ray, you were just about to respond when we had to go to a break.
Two levels of Patricia's question. The first is, how do you deal with the agitation, the friction between family members that seems to be becoming more pronounced? You can't change any other person. You can only change yourself. You can only alter the way you act and react. That's all you can do, especially if you have the reputation as being the holy one, the Christian one. The last thing you want to do is to be obnoxious like some of the other people. Second question, your brother-in-law says you need therapy. What did you expect? When you told him, let's go to counseling, the implication was, hey, you know, there's something wrong with you too. And he didn't like that. What I would say is that as a Christian, we are called to operate out of a different set of rules. So therefore, we have to be the easiest to get along with, the most pleasant, the most appealing, and that means a lot less swallowing, I would say, of things people say and do, especially if they're relatives. You're not a doormat for doing that. Actually, you're quite strong if you can do that. Thanks, Patricia.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Again, the number is 888-318-7884, and there's 3 lines open now, so you're welcome to get in if you have questions about living.
You have to go saying that. You have to go saying that, don't you?
Well, no, we have a lot of lines.
Well, we have a whole bunch of lines open.
No, 3 is not a lot.
A call is pouring in.
That's not what I was saying. I mean, it's not like we have 4 lines. We have a lot of lines, and 3 of them are open. I'm just trying to encourage people that they can talk to Dr. Ray. Living calm, mastering anger and frustration. Why is it me, or living calm? To that title is like I want to read that book, because it just seems like there's no calm anywhere in the world nowadays. It just doesn't. Where is it?
In therapy, you help someone look at the way they think, how they're interpreting people, how they're interpreting actions, how they're interpreting themselves, and you try to get them reasonable and close to reality. You don't need therapy to do that, Si. You can be your own therapist. I think every person, when they get upset and angry, should not look at the cause. You don't say, well, it was because she said that. No, that was not why you got angry. You got angry because you were thinking she had no right to say that. I don't deserve that. She doesn't appreciate me. She doesn't respect me. Why would she say that? I don't do that to her. So all those thoughts are percolating in your head that are making you angry. That can do an awful lot to make it worse or better.
But what about this, though? I mean, is there, like you said, like if you had let 30 seconds pass, then many of the mean things that you have said, when you have said mean things in your life, you would never have said. Like this, getting to calm, it's okay. Like if you feel flooded with anger, just take a minute, take a pause. Like you don't have to solve all this right now, right? Like I don't think I could think through this all the way you're describing unless I allowed myself a minute to just try to let this pass.
There's a simple rule of life. You never have to apologize for what you didn't say. If you can just shut your mouth when you feel the strongest urge to say something, what will happen is in a relatively short period of time, that urge will subside enough. It won't go away completely, but enough so that you can control what comes out of your mouth. I can't tell you how many times I bit down on my teeth and my tongue because I knew if I opened my mouth later on, I'm going to go, why did I say that?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
I shouldn't have said that. That's wrong.
Let's go back to the phones because literally, I now have to feel like I have to build Dr. Ray up because he's offended. There's literally thousands of people clamoring to get on and talk with him. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a clamor. That's what we're facing, a clamor.
Clamor.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you don't want to get yourself in a clamor situation. Those can be very dangerous and upsetting. Anonymous in Long Island, go ahead with your question for Dr. Ray. Nope. You don't want it? Anonymous?
That was very anonymous.
That's about as anonymous. I love you, and I'm going to come back to you, but I can't hear a thing at the moment. So we'll see if we can make that connection in a minute. Let's go to Lem in Kansas, listening on the Catholic Answers app. Lem, thanks for downloading the app onto your phone. Go ahead with your question for Dr. Ray.
Thank you. I am a pretty calm person, but my husband lost his faith and is an atheist, and he will say Jesus Christ in like a cursing way. I mean, he swears like a sailor, but I don't like that. But I really don't like him saying Jesus' name like that. So I kind of talked to him about it and said, hey, can you not say that? Or like try to make a joke out of it, like, hey, Jesus is a friend of mine. Can you not say his name like that? It hasn't really worked, which I do feel angry about. Like it's disrespectful to me as well. So Anyway, I'm wondering what to do. I was thinking, well, maybe I could just say a prayer of reparation out loud, but I didn't know if that would be really obnoxious. And
Dear Lord, please don't hold this against my husband's wretched soul. Yeah, probably not a good idea. Lynn, here's what I would suggest.
But just like, I believe, I adore, I love.
Lynn, this is one of those situations where you pray for somebody, they get mad. So first of all, he doesn't believe who you're praying to. So when you say a prayer like that, that's just going to make you seem even more different than he is. Couple of things to say here. You didn't count it, but I'll bet it's dozens of times that you have tried to tell him, please don't do that in front of me. Correct?
It's several.
It's a lot. Okay. Don't say it anymore. It's obvious that what you're saying, he's not accepting and he's not going to change. Okay, that's one. Two, God is a big boy. You're offended, but God hears it billions of times every day. Okay, God's a big boy. That's two. But the most important thing, and this is why you're getting so angry, you said it. He's not showing me respect. In other words, he's making this personal. Lynn, if you want to get angry, and I'm going to say this to everybody listening, if you want to get angry fast, all you have to do is personalize what somebody does. See, you're taking it personal. He knows I want him to stop. He knows how I feel. He knows I believe in my religion, but he doesn't care. He's going to do it anyway in your face, Lynn. That's what he's thinking. Don't tell yourself that. Just simply say, for whatever the reason, he gets some kind of satisfaction out of doing this. I'm not going to take it personal. The problem is his, and I will pray that he comes around. One other point here, Lynn. If you want your husband to have the best chance of looking at the faith objectively, then you have to be the best possible wife you can be. That's the only thing that'll win him over. You can't go to Mass every day and talk to your friends at church for an hour and a half, but yet sit and ignore him at night on the couch. You got to make him feel like he's number one, and the fact that Lynn, his wife, is a faithful Catholic is making his life better. That's probably your best approach by far to win him over. God bless you, Lynn.
Thank you very much. We got one more break to take, and we'll take it right now. Then we'll get back to the clamor of thousands waiting to talk with Dr. Ray Guarendi. Right back after this on Catholic Answers Live.
It's all about the truth. Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects home buyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
EWTN offers the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass live every morning at 8 Eastern and provides you with daily readings to follow along and enrich your experience. To be sure you don't miss out on the daily Mass or to get access to previous recordings, we can send a link to your email inbox every day. It's easy. Visit EWTN.com and click subscribe. EWTN, the Global Catholic Network.
Do you want to end abortion, halt the attack on traditional marriage, and ensure religious freedom for ourselves and for our grandchildren? To do this, we must convert the culture. St. Paul's Street Evangelization is a grassroots initiative that recognizes this need and takes it to the streets. If you're interested in peacefully sharing the gospel in your area, visit streetevangelization.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. This is a pretty good way to start the week. I don't know how the rest of the week is going to go, but it's going to be hard to maintain this level. We start with Trent Horn first hour, and now we have Dr. Ray Guarendi second hour. I feel like we've kind of already hit our peak, Darren. I don't know.
Trent was my lead-in act. He got the frisbees and the beach balls gone.
Yeah, he warmed up the crowd for you. That's
pretty much
right, and that's pretty good if you got Trent Horn warming up the crowd for you. You know, that's not so bad. But no, Darren says he thinks it's going to be a good week. even after this. Okay, Darren. I applaud your confidence.
Despite this.
Despite this. No, that's not how I meant. Sometimes it doesn't always come out right when you're on, Dr. Ray. We're going to Idaho now. Emma in Hayden, Idaho, listening on the EWTN app. Emma, go ahead with your question for Dr. Ray Guarendi.
Hi, Cy.
Hi, Emma.
Hi. So, let me just preface
Emma,
this
wait.
with
Emma, you didn't say hi to me. You didn't say hi to me. You just said hi to Cy.
Dr. Ray.
Forget it.
I'm
not in the mood now. I'm taking it personal.
Wait, let me be the therapist here for a second, Emma. You don't want to personalize this, Dr. Ray. Okay. That's when I learned that from a therapist. Don't personalize.
I want to talk to Emma.
Go ahead, Emma.
I need to say I adore my husband, but he has an anger problem. And when he gets angry, he's very demeaning and he talks like a robot. And like he'll say, I need all humans in the vehicle at this juncture in time. And I don't know how to...
I've never heard it described as talking like a robot, but I'm familiar with that, yes.
He'll say V and Ballard, and he just... when he gets demeaning, it gets hard.
Emma, I must respond to your question in the right way so that I can give you a good answer.
Oh, please.
My guess would be that he's trying to control himself. He knows he's going to erupt, so what he does is he basically clenches his jaw and talks in this forced, robotic way to keep cool. Now, that'd be the best way to interpret it. The other way to interpret it is that, yes, he does get mad at small stuff. That is your husband. But if overall he's a pretty good guy, then this is something that you guys have talked about, I'm sure, forever. My suggestion would be, if you've kind of hammered this issue, basically let it go, because I think he'll probably feel attacked. And if he feels bad about doing that, he's only going to get madder when you point it out to him. So I just recognize it as this is one aspect of his personality that you hope he's working on. You hope he's doing something about. And if he's a good enough guy and his faith means something to him, maybe he is. But for whatever the reason, this guy erupts at small stuff. And for you to say, well, I wish he wouldn't do that, you're absolutely right. The problem is you may not be able to do anything about him doing that for right now. So that is my advice to you, Emma. And please listen up. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Ray.
Thanks, Emma.
Bye.
Appreciate that. All right, we have an anonymous caller in Long Island. Had a little trouble with the connection before. I'm going to see if our anonymous caller is there. Anonymous in Long Island, are you there with us?
Yes, I am.
Welcome. Go ahead with your question for Dr. Ray Guarendi.
Thank you. I just wanted to know, I'm a little hurt and I'm a little angry. I'm trying to pray out of it to get calm again. But I just wanted to know, I think I did the right thing. I told my friend, who's not Catholic, and I told her I just became Catholic, and I'm very happy and joyful about it. And I was bubbling all over, and she looked at me and got so angry, and she said, I'm going to pray for you because you shouldn't go to that devil religion. And I said, that's not a devil religion. I said, that's beautiful religion. I said, that's not nice to say that. She says, well, that's what it is. And she just stared at me, and she said, I got to leave now, And that's it. She left, and then I thought, did I do the wrong thing? What did I do wrong? I don't know how to react to this, but I thought I had a right.
You know what you did wrong? You know what you did wrong? You became Catholic. In her eyes, anyway. The Lord said, they persecuted me, they're going to persecute you. No servant is greater than his master. When they revile you and utter all kinds of slander against you for my name's sake, rejoice and be glad. Your reward is great in heaven. So, my dear, you did a beautiful thing. And your friend, for whatever the reason, is threatened by it. Your friend doesn't understand it. Your friend probably has all kinds of nutty, wrong notions about the Catholic Church. I would leave her time to cool off. I wouldn't contact her. I'd wait for her to come around. And if she does, I would say, so please tell me, why do you think the Catholic Church is so bad? I just want to understand. That's all you do. You don't debate with her. You don't argue with her. You just simply say, how did you come to this conclusion? And at the end of all that, if she says you're still a devil worshiper, then you ask her, do you still want to be friends, or is this over? There's something I call a relationship breaking event. And for some people, no matter how long the friendship has lasted, for some people, in their mind, if you commit the unforgivable sin, they'll break the relationship. I've seen it in families. I've seen it with deep friends of 32 years. You did something that they absolutely cannot accept, and they say, out with you. And that could be what's happening with your friend, but my dear, you didn't do anything wrong other than in her eyes you became Catholic. The great wrong.
And, just that I'm hurting, and I was a little angry too. Thank you so much.
You got angry because she insulted you. That's why you got angry. She had no right to insult you in your mind. Okay, that's the first thing. You got hurt because she said things. But remember this, lawyers will tell you anybody can sue anybody for anything. Well, there's a parallel law in relationships. Anybody can say anything about anybody at any time. Your only worry is it true?
Anonymous, thank you very much. I'm so glad we got the opportunity to speak with you. I'm sorry we had a little bit of trouble before, but I'm very glad we got to speak with you. Dr. Ray Guarendi is our guest. And I'm going to try to get another call in here before I have to go. Ernest in Colorado.
Si, I'm charging you by the calls. You know that, don't you?
Well, sorry, Ernest, we're not going to be able to take your call today.
No, just kidding,
Ernest.
My bank told me not to take Catholic Answers checks and get cash from those people.
Yeah, oh, definitely. That's a very your bank knows. Ernest in Colorado, listening to EWTN on channel 130 Sirius XM satellite radio. Go ahead, Ernest, with your question for Dr. Ray Guarendi.
Okay, thank you. And how are you today? And also, I've always heard that a lot of anger comes from a person getting his feelings hurt. Comment on that, if you would, please.
That's a variant, Ernest, of saying the other person had no right to say that to me. The other person was wrong in not respecting me and not giving me my due. You're absolutely correct. When feelings get hurt, remember this, Ernest, for anybody to hurt my feelings, I have to help them. I have to cooperate in hurting my feelings. Now, granted, I may not like what they said. I may react badly to it, but to prolong my feelings being hurt, I have to cooperate in that. They don't have the ability to hurt my feelings badly unless I let them. And that's in any relationship.
Okay, yeah, I kind of knew that. However, sometimes it's a knee-jerk reaction.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, it is. Well, it's knee-jerk until you sort it through. Yeah. Until you start to ask yourself, okay, wait a minute, why am I reacting like this? Why am I so hurt? Oh, I know I am so hurt. I can't believe this person said this to me. I didn't deserve that. Why did they accuse me of this? How do they see me this way? That's what you're thinking. It wasn't as knee-jerk as you think, Ernest, because those thoughts go through your head in a nanosecond. And later on, you got to sort them through.
Okay, Ernest?
It's called pushing my buttons, isn't it, in some cases?
Well, let's make your button harder to push.
Yeah, got you.
You don't want to be trip switch.
Okay.
You want to have a long fuse.
And is that a habit that you build, Dr. Ray? Like because I know that there are people who would really like to have a longer fuse. They would like to not be, I don't know, sensitive, I suppose is what we say sometimes about people. I don't know if that's an insult or what, but do you know what I mean? How do I get that to have a longer fuse?
One of the biggest sources of anger in a relationship is that person is not acting as I want them to. It's that simple. You are not doing or saying what I would want you to say. That's it. I get a lot of calls from people, and one of the questions they have is not tell me how to be different. Their question is tell me how to make somebody else be different.
Yeah.
That's very hard to do. I have a hard enough time making you be different.
I know, but I feel you working on me, though, with that PhD you've got.
Well, by the way, I probably should be open about this. Christopher Check, your boss, asked me to do a 1-hour evaluation.
Is that what?
And his report, yes, that's what this is. His report will show this. It'll be on his desk tomorrow, so you might want to stop in, and hopefully you'll still be host. There's some things I've noticed that you probably haven't picked up.
Well, you're the professional. See, that's the thing, is you're the professional. Yeah. Well, I hope I passed the evaluation. Ernest, first of all, thank you very much for that call. Dr. Ray Guarendi is our guest. I believe, like when you say, people call and say, how do I change this other person? And it does seem like a basic insight that we have to have some point in our life that I can change me. I cannot change the other person. And when I change me, I actually can have more calm in my life. I believe it, but I still want you, like when we're not on the air, to tell me the secret of how to change my wife.
I don't know if that can be done. Here's the thing. If you want to change someone else, the best way to do it is to change yourself first. Very few people do not react, at least in some slight positive way, to a different, better you.
Ah, yes. Right. That the old different, better you, that's the part that we are avoiding, I suppose, in changing other people.
Sure. It's easier for me to look at them and say, boy, oh boy, why are they like that?
Right.
Than it is to look at me and say, why am I like this?
Living Calm, Mastering Anger and Frustration is the new book from Dr. Ray Guarendi, and I looked it up on Amazon.com, where it is the #1 new release. I just saw this. #1 new release in religious counseling.
Are you serious?
That's what it says. It says,
are you serious?
#1 new release in religious counseling. That's what it says on your book when I go to the page. Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. You can also get it at EWTNRC.com and my website also, drray.com.
And you should, because living calm is something we all need. So I'll do this. Give me the takeaway. What am I want to live calm. What am I going to have to do? What am I going to get from this book that's going to help me live calm?
You're going to learn how to analyze yourself and recognize the thinking that is underlying your agitation or upset or frustration.
And it can be done. I can do that.
Sure you can. Sure you can. Of course. And by the way, we as Christians have an obligation to do that. If someone does not follow Christ, their only motive to improve might be because of consequences in their lives. I don't want to be obnoxious because my boss is going to fire me. But as Christians, we are told that we have to look at ourselves and respond in ways that other people may not respond likewise to us.
Yeah, that's right. And that's I have to say, Dr. Ray, and all kidding aside, one of the things I genuinely appreciate about your work is that your professional skills are put at the service of helping us to live our Christian vocation better. It's not in the service of jargon or this or that fad, but of saying, you can do this analysis, but you don't get out of carrying the cross, and here's how you can carry it better, and here's how you can be the Christian Christ called you to be.
Did I say all that?
That's what I get. I don't know. Maybe I made it up. Possibly.
Wow.
Another more indication of my delusions, I guess. I'm not sure, but please go easy on the report to Chris Check tonight. I need this job.
It might require some surgery.
We'll do it then. Dr. Ray Guarendi's been our guest. Get his new book, Living Calm, Mastering Anger and Frustration, and leave it on the nightstand of the person you're trying to change. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing, right here on Catholic Answers Live.